Neal Brown went live with Hobby Kirchable again and spoke after his firing for the first time. While he was very candid, I feel like he threw some people under the bus in the process. Let's talk about that on this episode of Locked On West Virginia.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host, and we're here again at another episode of Locked On West Virginia. It's going to be brought to you by FanDuel, guys. Get started with a big return on FanDuel this season. New customers can place a $5 bet. And man, you can get started with 150 in bonus bets. That's if you win your first $5 bet. But you have to visit FanDuel.com to get started, or you can't get started. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team every single day, the Mountaineers, West Virginia. So, okay, I'm going to read an article here. And look, the best one I could find that had the entire quote in it, because I can't remember it all from heart here, is Voice of Morgantown. So I'm going to read it, just the it's basically just the quote of everything that Neal Brown said. So I looked everywhere, couldn't find the quote. So and he did the best job encapsulating everything that was said on here. So I'm going to read exactly what Neal Brown said live. Former West Virginia head coach Neal Brown spoke publicly for the first time since being fired from his position at West Virginia University. Brown sat with Hoppy Kirchable this morning on Metro News Sportsline to discuss his time in Morgantown, his firing, and his future in football. Here are some highlights of what Brown had to say during his appearance. You know, I wasn't surprised by the firing, Brown said. I kind of knew it was coming after our loss on Saturday night, and I'm not bitter. Rim Baker is an outstanding director of athletics, and I've loved working with him. I went to my daughter's high school basketball game after it happened, and the fans were great to me. So, you know, I like the fact that he didn't stay just, confined to his home after this. That's really good. I'm glad, because I worried about that. I really did worry about him after this. On why things went south, it looks like it's making me say I'm not a bot here. That's odd. Okay, so let me go back into it here. Sorry, guys. It just completely just threw me off. Wow. Okay, there we go. On why things went south, Brown said, I think things I'll take ownership of. It's reloading the page now. There are decisions I would probably do differently. I don't ever have regrets. I don't think that's healthy. I think there are mistakes that you look back on and learn from. We didn't play well enough on defense. Our evaluations over a couple years of time in the defensive backfield hurt us, and we didn't have the money to go and fix it. Okay, boom. I want to talk about this really quick, because we were sold lies then. If that's the case, if that's how you really felt, I'm not saying that you didn't have to come out and say, or you let Jordan Leslie say, this is the best, most athletic, we can play press man coverage. We heard it two separate times across two different seasons. I think they want to say 2021 or 22 offseason. And then this previous offseason, we got Garnett Hollis and Joseph and all those guys. We were supposed to be much better in the back end because we got two Power 5 transfers to come in. We were supposed to be able to play press man coverage because Garnett Hollis is 6'3". Like, we heard all that in the offseason. So you can't have it both ways, in my opinion, on this. Everybody's giving him so much credit for being honest, and he was very honest, very candid. And look, Neal has handled this situation with class. Please, guys, don't think that I'm just not the kind of person that's going to ride the fence on this. I'm going to have an opinion. And whether you like it or you don't, I'm sorry. But this is just how I personally feel as somebody who is an Uber fan, even amongst Uber fans. Like some of you guys are probably Uber fans. I promise you, I'm not trying to get into a peeing contest here, but this is my obsession. You know, if you can look at my phone usage right now, I'm right in the neighborhood of 15, 16 hours a day trying to cover this coaching search. It's way too much. So, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have similar things going on. So my point is I take this too seriously to begin with and too personally. So I try to put that aside. But when I hear stuff like this, we didn't have a better, good evaluations on defense. Well, that's not what you freaking told us for an entire 2 separate off seasons. The class with Hershey McLaurin and all those guys. Although Hershey turned into a good player the next year, that first year that he was not good, along with the other guys they brought in. I'd have to go back and look, but it wasn't very good at all. Charles Woods was the only good. Beanie Bishop and Charles Woods were really the only 2 I could think of off the top of my head right now that were good. And Charles Woods was hurt and transferred the next year. We could have paired him up with somebody. So he says, and we didn't have the money to go fix it. Okay. We were inconsistent on offense. We had a tough schedule, but that's not an excuse. But you got to throw it in there all the time. We have a very passionate fan base, and these fans are great. But he went on to say, you can't have top 4 expectations, but have bottom 4 resources, alluding to the fact that West Virginia simply does not have the money to compete with other Big 12 programs. Okay, so I do have an issue with it, and I know people are going. I saw everybody on Twitter. If you're mad at what Neal Brown had to say, you're just looking for a reason to get mad. And I'm not mad, but I think it's bullcrap, man. At the end of the day, there are teams that are winning with less out there. Here's my biggest problem with Neal Brown. He doesn't have that Mamba mentality. He doesn't have that killer will that Michael Jordan had, the killer will that Kobe had, the killer will that Tom Brady had, or if you want to take it to coaches, he doesn't have the killer will that a Pete Carroll has, right? He doesn't have the killer will that a Rich Rodriguez has, in my opinion. You've got to have, or Signetti, who is at Indiana right now, said, I win, Google me. I want that brash, cocky demeanor. I don't want to hear credit to them. Was the weather nice? And we're not 0-10 at least. We're 6-6, but we're not 0-10. I don't want to hear that shit. I want to hear we're going to fix it somehow, like you said in the very beginning when you told us you were going to bring us championships. You never did it. So you may have thought you were going to, but you didn't. So I don't want to hear the resources thing. Iowa State does it with less. Other teams do it with less, not just Iowa State in our conference. I'm sure UCF at times has less. There are other teams that are on this list that have won at times. UCF hasn't won yet, but I think they probably will. So this is just how I feel, man. I like I said, I love Neal Brown in a lot of different ways. I think he's got great character and all that great stuff. We hear it all the time. But when it comes to as a football coach, I think he's better suited to a coordinator role or group of 5 position, maybe where he's on the same level of talent in a coaching setting. He just doesn't have that killer will that says, I'm going to do it no matter what with whatever resources. You know what Rich Rod did? He just took 2.5-star players and made them better than everybody else, right? That's what he did. He just, you know what my solution is? I'll take Owen Schmidt and turn him into the best fullback in America. Like this year, you know who one of the best running backs in the country are? Jacksonville State. You know where he came from? Division II, Limestone. So, don't give me this. You can figure it out if you have enough evaluation. And I also don't want to hear the freaking evaluation thing because you brought in Nick Fabianich from the Dallas Cowboys. He was supposed to be this godsend that was supposed to make our team great again, and he never was. So much for bringing a talent evaluator in when you don't care about the money. That's what he's there for, is to find diamonds in the rough, right? How can you miss on every single defensive backfield piece? Because that's what you did. Somebody explain that to me. If you brought and then you fired a guy and you kept Shadon Brown, why? Somebody explain it to me. Somebody explain it to me, man. I just don't understand this. So I take a breath. We had a path forward, he says. There are some things we had to get fixed, but the negativity just kind of steamrolled. I don't think it is what Wren wanted to do, but it got to the point that it was best for both parties. On if he plans to coach next season, he says, I want to coach. I think there are a lot of positives for a personal perspective and professionally, and that there is a lot of jobs open in conferences where you can go in, and my anticipation is that I will. Interesting little quote there. I'm going to read that again. Tell me what you guys think about this sentence here. I want to coach. I think there are a lot of positives from a personal perspective and professionally, and there are a lot of jobs open in conferences where you could go in. My anticipation is that I will. What does that mean exactly? Do you think that this is a conference you can't win in? Do you think that Appalachian State, where they play at, is where you can? It's an interesting comment. It's like I don't know. He just doesn't have killer will. He doesn't. He just doesn't say I'm going to do it against all odds. Incredible, man. Now he has a 72-51 record. He's 44 years old. Obviously, 10 seasons overall between West Virginia and Troy, and is widely respected. Most think he's going to take the App State job. I would be surprised if he didn't, guys. So, and then he also went on to say, I'm extremely proud to be associated with all the incredible young men who are part of our program over the past 6 years. This team, like those before them, showed up every day, resilient, united, and determined. I love this group and know they will navigate this transition with class and integrity. Our family was proud to call West Virginia home. So he says all the right things, don't get me wrong, but there are these little digs, right? These little digs here and there that they don't sit well with me based on what he said coming in. It's not echoing what he's saying going out. You came in saying we will win championships here. I mean, did you not evaluate the job before you signed up? Did you not know before you signed up that this job was going to be harder? Usually it's historically harder. No, you came in the door saying we're going to win championships here. And so we had to believe that as a fan base. And so you leave talking about how little resources we have. And indeed we may. But guys have gotten it done before, right? Neal and Phelan, Rich Rodriguez, Bill Stewart, and even Dana to a certain extent all got it done more than you ever did, Neal Brown, and ever could. You were never right for our job on the field. You didn't have killer instinct or killer will. And your next job, I'm sure you'll be happy at 6-6 as well. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, guys, the three guys. What are they talking about? A lot to unpack with what they have to say about the West Virginia coaching search. And imagine that. I don't like it. We'll talk about that next. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile, which is a really nice program, guys. You should check out Mint Mobile as soon as you can. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It's got to be easy, no hoops, no BS. But when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. And it turns out, man, it's pretty easy to get wireless for $15 a month. Shocking, I know. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. And there you'll see right now all 3-month plans are $15, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's highest 5G network. You can choose your own phone number, bring your old phone number, whatever you want to do, along with all your old contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months premium service for $15 a month. Just know this, that this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege and cut that wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 up payment upfront is required, guys. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds above 40 gigs a month on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions do apply, but go to Mint Mobile for details. All right, here we are, guys. Here we are. So, interesting on the coaching search, I think. I don't know. I think what bothers me about the three guys situation for sure is they're counting guys out before they even interview for the job. And it feels like there's an agenda. If you don't know what I'm talking about, yesterday on Three Guys Before the Game, or maybe it was yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, but they weighed in on the coaching search. And Hoppy, who put out his own poll, said that I think it was just like 5 or 6% difference between the yeses and the nos for Rich Rod. And they kind of went on this diatribe about how the narrative is fudged a little bit because of how many people want Rich Rod or how many people are saying they don't want Rich Rod, and it's kind of overly focused on him, which is true. It has been a little bit overly focused on Rich, no doubt, no doubt. But we all want what used to be again. And he did it before with less resources than we even have now. And the biggest donor and public personality we have wants him, right? And so I think it's this clash where I think with Hoppy, Brad, and not Tony to as much, but Hoppy and Brad for sure, they're, and I don't know if I'm right about this, but I suspect that maybe they're worried about their positions as far as being in the know. Maybe that, with Rich, there's some uncertainty there. Or maybe there's already relationships that aren't good or bad, or like Hoppy said, I don't think I'll be getting a Christmas card from Rich, right? So I think there's this fear that maybe he'll be left out if Rich is the guy, or maybe even Jimbo. But man, he said, Hoppy put out an initial 5-1 odds that he thought Rich would get the job. And then Brad weighed in on the show and said, make that 10,000 to 1 odds. Like, first of all, you guys keep saying Ren's not leaking anything, yet you seem to know this. Why is that? Or is there just an agenda that you're using your platform for? That's what I think it is. You don't want Rich to get the job. You don't want Jimbo to get the job. So you're using this platform that you have. You're using polls on Twitter. And it's funny, when other people did polls, they were kind of slanted towards Rich, right? But when you did yours, it was just barely slanted. Yes. So I just have an issue with it, man. I just I think that for me, based on the candidate pool, who do you really want, man? I mean, is it do you want a guy like Barry Odom who's been 500 in the SEC, albeit the SEC? Do you want, without his best coach, by the way, Marion's not coming with him, the go-go offense probably not coming with him, right? Or at least the guy that calls the plays. So do you want that? Do you want Jeff Monken, who obviously has been incredible at Army, but the questions loom: do you keep the offense? Do you change the offense? Most think he'll change it. That's an interesting hire, absolutely. Do you bring a guy like Jamie Chadwell in, who could be another Neal Brown? I don't know. I think that's an interesting one too. I think I could be talked into Jimmy Chadwell over some others, but I don't hear names like Garrett Riley. I don't hear names like Glenn Schumann as much, and I don't know why. I feel like Garrett Riley and Glenn Schumann would both bring excitement to the fan base. Andy Kotelnicki obviously would. I don't think he's a true candidate for the job yet either, even though I looked at, if you haven't saw his opening Penn State press conference, I highly, highly, highly suggest you go watch it. Kotelnicki, very relatable. I can see him being a good recruiter, and he does something a little different. Somebody in the chat asking about when I'm going to do the Frisco Bowl. John, probably the week of. I'll bring somebody on from Memphis and we'll talk about it for sure. So, yeah. So that's probably when I'll be doing it. But thanks for asking, brother. I wish, James, look, if Rich Rod got an interview with me, it'd be a dream come true. I do have one of the coaching candidates will be coming on. I'm expecting a call from him at 6 p.m. He is West Virginia Tide. I can't say who it is yet because we haven't scheduled it, but once we do, it's a former West Virginia player that is although he is not named as in the running for the job, he would be a candidate in my opinion. Anyway, I'm going to talk to him this evening at 6, and we'll see what that's going to be all about. But it could be fun, man. It could be fun. I saw something from Michael Derhart, or however he says his name. Let's see. What did he say? I lost his financial support. Well, brother, I mean, I'm not getting it anyway. You know, I'm not getting it anyway. It goes to Locked On. I've been telling you guys this for literally a month or more. You know, so yeah. As far as the Neal Brown interview goes, you're not happy about that. It's all about opinions, man. You know, here's the thing. I have people in my life that are no longer in my life because they have opinions that, like, for instance, let's say I like this guy, but he's a Democrat or a Republican. And this guy is one of those people that say, how can you be friends with somebody like that? Well, I can't be friends with you if you're friends with people like that. I cut those people directly out of my life. If you get upset with me because of who I'm friends with, that's it for me, right? Similarly, if you get upset with me over my opinion, that's it for me. You know, I could care less at that point whether you continue to support me or not. These are opinions, right? I'm on here to provide a service, a content. I do it as the best of my ability with all my whole heart. And my view, however jaded or not, of what it is to be a West Virginia fan and to sit in the regular West Virginia working man seat, right? And what that means, somebody that's got the state tattooed on his chest with his dad's initials and his date of death and date of birth in there, you know, and somebody that knows what it is to love this place. And so my opinion may not match with yours, but at the end of the day, we're still the same, right? We should still be on the same teams. So whether I want Rich Rod or Jimbo, or I dislike the way Neal Brown left, doesn't mean you should pull support or not watch anymore. That's kind of childish, man. So all I'm asking from you guys is just accept me as I am, just like I accept you as you are. You know, just like yesterday. I was on one of the secret message boards, and of course, Huddy Tuddy had to call me a felon, even though I wasn't there, you know, even though I'm very open about my past and how I've changed my life. It's kind of things like that, you know, people that use things that I talk about. Like, I brought that up. I'm the reason that people know about it. And maybe it's oversharing or maybe it isn't. But at the end of the day, I went through some stuff that took me 13 years to get through. And here I am over half a decade on through it. And people like to try to use that against me or to railroad me or whatever. You know, I don't need that stuff. So at the end of the day, guys, my point is, if you're following me, it's because I am as real as it comes when it comes to talking to you in this camera. And I don't know how much people dislike or like that. Yes, I am a felon. Yes, I have committed crimes and done things that are horrible in my life. And yes, I did pay for those crimes. And yes, I did repent. And yes, I will move forward. And yes, I do the next right thing every single day now. But it took me a long time to get there and a lot of hurt and heartache along the way. So I'm not for everybody, and I can understand that and accept it. Just like I hope you accept me when I don't always have the same opinion as you. That's what life is all about. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, guys, let's talk a little bit more about Jeff Monken. I think he's an interesting candidate, and he might just be able to win here. I don't know. Let's talk about it. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, guys. That is right. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, and if you win, FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on NFL and all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page you place your bets. All you have to do is join FanDuel.com to get started, and you'll get that $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet at FanDuel, guys. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, and that's an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. All right, guys. So I apologize. I don't mean to go off on my tangents or whatever you want to call them, but I want you guys to see that I have passion for this and that I love doing this and that I love and I'm very proud of being from the state of West Virginia. And nobody can ever take that from us or me. And just because our opinions differ, we should all stick together because, man, enough people hate us from the outside for us to hate each other. That's kind of how I feel, you know. Jeff Monken seems to have gained a little steam, and I don't know how much true it is. I mean, it could just be, uh, you know, the stuff message boards or whatever. But obviously, it's been reported as well. What do you guys think about Jeff Monken? He's won an Army a lot. He's never faced tough schedules. Obviously, you have to get guys to, you've got to convince guys to stick around for 8 years when you recruit them to Army. That's got to be hard, or 9 years, or whatever it is. I'll tell you what, I know what that takes as far as from the other side. And the kind of guys that he would probably bring to us are the kind that Rich won with and Nealon won with and all that kind of stuff. And when I say I know what it's like from the other side, this is what I mean. I used to be that guy. Yeah, I used to be that guy, or that guy. So I know what it's like to serve our country, and I would probably, although Monken, I don't think he has served in the military. I like the idea of a guy with those values leading the West Virginia program, because you would have to wholeheartedly adopt what they do at the service academies to lead those guys. You can't be less than them and try to lead them. You've got to be more. So I think from a concept standpoint, I think Monken makes good sense. I don't know what kind of players he would recruit. I don't know what kind of offense he would run, but daggone it, man, I know he would be tough. And I think he's an interesting choice that I could get behind. He's 57. So he's not exactly young, but he ain't old, right? I mean, we would take Signetti, and he's in his 60s right now. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on out there right now. And I thought, for the end of the show today, I would talk about Monken. Obviously, Rich Rod's my choice, guys. And I know there's a lot of you that don't like that. But my biggest reasons are Ken Kendrick and Pat McAfee, the two loudest voices in the West Virginia space when it comes to money and when it comes to resources, right? And also just how we're looked at. I mean, they can literally shape it. So I know they pushed hard for Rich behind the scenes. I don't see Ren bowing or bending to that without Rich killing this interview, but because he's definitely lost some steam the last couple of days, even though I don't believe three guys 100%. They act like they don't hear anything. I don't know if they do, but if they do, that's not a good sign, right? But even Jimbo, I think, would be at this point. I'm coming around to him a little bit more, just because of the candidate pool. It's not great, guys, and some of us just here's okay. People that say the Rich Rod left thing, it's true. He did leave us, but how about this also? As a person that's been given a lot of grace in his life, it would be very cheap and hypocritical of me to hold something against Rich Rod that he did 20 years ago. And if you don't like what he did in Arizona with the secretary, I totally understand that. And that is more understandable to me than the Michigan stuff, for me personally. I think that was a great job opportunity that it comes open once every 20 years sometimes. Certainly one of the 7, 8 best jobs in America, maybe top 3 or 4. They just won a national championship. And it's just, even though you're at home, sometimes you want to challenge yourself. I think nobody gives him enough credit for just trying to challenge himself with a tougher job. Not a tougher job, but a big opportunity. And I got over the Rich Rod left us stuff, like 5, 7, 8 years ago. I know not everybody's going to, but here's what we know, guys. He can win, and he can win here. And here people say he couldn't beat, our schedule. We played the Big East, but we also beat Oklahoma and Georgia. And that Oklahoma team was still his team. Even though it was Bill Stewart coaching the team, Rich Rod would have beat him worse probably. So I just think, man, if you give Rich Rod, because they're saying we're going to be at full share, if you're telling me Rich Rod's going to have top 3 resources or top quarter of the Big 12 resources, then look out. He's never had great players. He's always, except at Michigan, obviously, and all those guys transferred. If you've ever read the book 3 and Out, Rich Rod, his second year at Michigan, everybody transferred because it was such a hard-edged way to play. He came from coaching West Virginia players that were just grateful to be there to coaching Michigan players who had options, and they all left, right? In year 3, he finally got it turned around a little bit, and they fired him because he just wasn't a fit. And then he went to Arizona, and that's a tough job, tougher than West Virginia, if you ask me. So that's just my opinion. He won 10 games there, and this was before the portal era. If you're telling me Rich can buy players, then daggone Skippy, I'm going to give him the job. Those are my thoughts on it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this show. Sorry for being so candid with you guys. Sometimes my emotions get the best of me. I love you guys, So, look, I'm like 30 people away from 3,000 subscribers. If there's any way at all you guys could please help me get there if you're not subscribed, it would mean a lot to me. I probably lost one earlier, right, from Michael. He's not happy with my Neal Brown comments, and that's fine. I understand. Not everybody's going to agree with me. You're going to lose people. But if you could help me get there, guys, it would mean a lot to me. Like the video. Don't forget to subscribe and share the video out, whether it's on X. All you have to do is copy and paste this in the top bar where it says www. Or you can just click share and copy that to Facebook, X, wherever you look, Instagram, whatever. I would appreciate that. I don't want any money. Just help me grow. Other than that, guys, I got nothing. I'll see you after the basketball game. We're going to be doing a live post game after Georgetown. Be here for that this evening, and I'll see you then. Or if any other coaching news breaks, we'll be here to talk about that too. I am on watch. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm out.